Okay, I believe we're ready now to open meeting number 4 for this evening. Following Independence Day, it's customary for the City Council to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, so let us do so at this point. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good words. We appreciate it. All right. Will our clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Dickerson?
Here.
Mr. Hazen?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Robertson?
Here.
Roberts?
I answered to that, but my name is Roberts. Thank you.
Miss Wood? Here.
We'll save a correction on the next minutes if we make that correction now. All right. Thank you so much. So we're all going to start. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes of our previous meeting dated June 18th, 2018. Are there any corrections of note? Actually, I have one. On page 5, in reports from special committees, item number G, I reported about our sister city program, and I'd just like to correct the spelling of the village of Domasi. This correct spelling is Domasi, D-O-M-A-S-I. We'll honor the little village by getting their name right. Okay, thank you. Any other corrections? All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I will motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, Dean Hazen makes the motion. Mary Alice Wu seconded. Discussion about the minutes? None seen? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Are there additions to the agenda? No, apparently not. That's fine. Now we're coming to public input. I've got 3 public input cards, and they're all concerning, there's one that's a zoning request, and this person would like to address the issue before the item comes up for discussion in the agenda. Carol Osgood, would you like to come forward? All right. You indicated that you wanted to speak before, but you don't have to. Do you want to wait for the item to come up? Okay, thank you. All right, so we now also have Bishop King James Underwood and Reverend Evelyn Underwood, who represent the Dr. Ellis subdivision, and they want to discuss their concerns about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer problems. We are continually concerned about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer problems. That is, they'd like to have that put in the public record. Also, Elderess Melinda Carr, she wishes to also speak without coming forward, to put on the public record that she continues to be concerned about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer issues, equity, and historic impact. All right. So, seeing no other public participation cards at this point, we'll close public input. And we're going to go to unfinished business. Is there unfinished business? I imagine there's always lots of unfinished business, but do we have any that we might talk about at this point? I have a lot of unfinished business in my home, so I'm sure the city has plenty also.
Not
All right.
all thoughts need to be said.
No thoughts need to be said. Okay, thank you then. All right, so now we're going to go on to reports of standing committees, and a report from the Committee of the Whole, which was led by Councilmember Dean Hazen. If you would like to take over, please.
Sure. Okay, Committee of the Whole. So the first item we had up was the social service funding. And staff is going to speak on this.
Yes, I have.
Kelly
a-
Murkowski.
Yes, I have a final spreadsheet listing the recommendations that were made at the last meeting.
This was a little different process than we've had previously, where each of us laboriously filled out all kinds of columns for you to adjust. And I'm hoping that this process simplifies our social service funding for the future, yet remains fair and open. Which, are you assuring us that that could be true?
To the best of my ability.
All right.
Yes, the correct answer is yes.
Yes.
No equivocal answers to this. Do you want to run us through this sheet, just for the highlights of our awareness?
Sure. If you look at the column that says Council Amendments, June 25th, this has the 4 changes that were recommended for the Champaign County Christian Healthcare, from the 7,500 recommendation to the 5,000. And then the Champaign County Healthcare consumers, 13,000 recommended with an additional 8,000 if they provide services at an Urbana location. The third change is the CU Men's Shelter at 12,000 with an additional 18,000 contingent upon them opening no later than October 1st. And then the fourth change was Family Services Champaign County, their Meals on Wheels. And it says note that we need to motion with the request for 10% for fee waivers for Urbana residents who demonstrate need. And Danielle's also here to assist with this as well.
All right, so Danielle, do we want to ask you now to support comments concerning the budget changes as we're looking at them?
In my supervisor's memo, I have 2 proposed motions for your consideration. The first is to tie the $8,000 to Meals on Wheels to at least 10% fee waiver for Urbana residents who demonstrate need. Currently, we fund Meals on Wheels. Urbana funds Meals on Wheels. Champaign does not, and yet we're essentially, there's nothing to show that we're funding Urbana residents specifically, so we requested that. Since it is a fee for service, they charge, I think it's $8, something between $6 and $8.50 a meal.
For seniors also?
Yes. Yeah.
My experience with Meals on Wheels in Michigan was different.
Yeah, I'd like to see it be free or very reduced.
Yeah.
But, and we can help make that happen by looking at fee waivers. I think 10% is what they offered when we discussed it with them.
Okay.
The second motion is to do a set-aside for emergency shelter for women and women with children. The Cunningham Township budget has set aside $50,000. I had requested, I've had extensive conversations with the mayor, who's not here this evening, about the city of Urbana setting aside $10,000. We were able, $20,000. Because you took $2,500 from out of the proposal for Christian Health Center, that was added to the set aside as we discussed on the 25th. So essentially, part of your motion could be to basically set aside, to allocate, $22,500 to emergency shelter for women with children, pending a future proposal that would come for that.
Okay, and that's written out for us on a piece of paper?
Yes,
Some
it's
words
in
that we
the
can-
supervisor's memo. Sorry to confuse you. You have 5 meetings tonight, but
Yeah,
it's
a
buried
little-
in there.
A lot of paperwork here.
Yeah.
Okay, Jared, question?
I just have a point of order question for Wendy, or do we need to make a motion or anything to approve this because it's embedded in the budget that we already passed? Or what is our action for this so we know how to embed the motions being requested by the township supervisor?
All right, who's our guru who can perhaps?
I did actually talk to the mayor about that exact question, if I could respond.
Do so.
My understanding is that both with the township board budget and the city budget, there was a pot of gold for social services, but it was not laid out item by item. So essentially what you're doing is you're saying, you already passed that budget at the city. You haven't yet passed the town board budget. But what you're saying is, in those budgets, this is how we would like to allocate those funds.
And then to add to that, once this is approved, then we would meet to determine who specifically would get funded by Cunningham Township versus City General versus CDBG, based on priorities and the regulations and
So
such.
Right.
is the motion just to approve the social service funding with these other motions as you've suggested them? So you're asking for motions, but maybe they just need to be amendments to a general motion to approve? Eric's shaking his head.
Our budget, our city budget has a total amount of money, but it doesn't have the specific amounts for each agency. So what we have to do now is approve, or, consider and approve, if we will, the amounts to be allocated to each agency. And if the amount exceeds what we put in the annual budget, then I guess there would need to be actually a budget amendment to, and I forget, what did we put aside? Did we have 250,000 in our annual budget?
Yes, I believe it was 250,000.
Yeah, so whatever it is, so if we, for example, wind up committing 262,500, including this, we would have to come later for a budget amendment for the extra 12,500, or we'd have to adjust some of the other expenditures to bring it down.
Because I'm seeing
However,
280,000.
All
Isn't
right, Kelly?
Isn't the $50,000 from Cunningham Township coming from township? So it wouldn't be from the city general
No,
fund?
that's right. But the 22,500 that we're being asked to set aside in case, those arrangements are finalized.
Could I clarify, because I
Sure.
spent a lot of time with these numbers. So, your budget, correct me if I'm wrong, puts $175,000 aside for social service funding. The township budget sets aside $75,000
Okay.
for a consolidated social service funding pool. So, if you set aside $12,500 for emergency shelter, you would stay within budget. If you set aside $22,500, as I have suggested, requested of the mayor, et cetera, then there would be a process, and I don't think it's a budget amendment process, but I defer to the attorney on this one, that essentially it would be the executive's job to basically find out where another 10,000 could come from.
And
Actually,
our city attorney actually, I thought wanted to weigh in on that comment, but he's conferring, so Kelly.
I just want to state that actually the dollar amounts that Danielle gave, it's the opposite. It's Cunningham Township
Oh,
is
I'm sorry.
175,000.
Good Lord.
City is 75,000,
Yes,
including
thank you,
5,000 of CDBG.
Okay.
I'm going on hour 13 of working today, so thank you for that.
Eric?
So the emergency shelter for women and children, is that how many different entities are involved in actually financially supporting that, or will be involved in financially
Currently,
supporting
we're
that?
talking to City of Champaign Township, United Way, Community Foundation, Cunningham Township, Regional Plan Commission through their COC NOFA, and the Mental Health Board.
Okay, so it, hopefully there'll be actually financial contributions from everybody.
We're looking at a proposed budget of about $200,000. The city of Urbana would be 1/10 of that, which I
Okay.
think is appropriate, maybe even low for the city's contribution.
Okay.
All right. So do we have, okay, our city attorney, Jim?
With all the descriptions, you have, for the most part, properly described the process. I'm not going to get into numbers, because I don't know the numbers. I don't know specifically what's budgeted. But a certain amount, as has been stated, has been budgeted by the city. I'm not going to talk about the township. That's not my role. If you approve funding and whatever this reflects in terms of the city's contribution to the larger pot of funding is what has been budgeted, then you're fine. If you increase that to exceed what has been budgeted, you will have to pass one or more budget amendments in our normal budget amendment process, depending on how you approve. If you do it all in one lump sum, it will take a budget amendment. Now, in terms of the process for voting on this allocation plus additions or changes in the allocation, you can do it in one of two ways. Somebody can make a motion to approve this with certain changes that they reflect in their motion, increases, decreases, additions, deletions. Then that is the motion. If there are no other amendments, you would vote on that. However, you can also vote on this, or I mean, now move your allocation on the spreadsheet, and then amendments can be added until, and voted on, up or down, and then however the spreadsheet is ultimately amended, if at all, would be voted on.
All right, so it's not really all that confusing. We either like what we see, and then if we want to make some adjustments, but we either add them now or we amend them after we pass the general spreadsheet.
No, you can amend them before you,
Yeah, but we don't
Passes.
have to. You said that there was two ways of doing it. Thank you. So,
right.
all right, Bill Brown.
So have you talked with the people at Meals on Wheels, and they have a way of determining whether residents can demonstrate need or something? So they've kind of agreed to the 10%? Okay. And same thing with healthcare consumers. They've agreed that they could open for 2 or 3 hours someplace in Urbana?
I don't think there's been a conversation with them yet about that. So
Okay.
you basically make it contingent upon, and then
Okay.
we can have that conversation with them.
And then, so a little confused by the bottom totals. There's a 240, 20, 50, and then total 280. I can't quite figure out where the 280 comes from.
Yeah, so it is confusing. I mixed something that doesn't really belong in consolidated social service funding so that you can see that set aside. Essentially, it would be a total of, if you do 20,000, since you took out the money from Champaign County, what is it, Christian Health Center, if you did 22,500, the total would be 260,000. It would be 10,000 more than what you budgeted. If you do 12,500, it would be what you have budgeted, which is $75,000. And we can handle the other 10,000 in a future conversation.
Okay, are we ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'm ready any old time, except we have a question down here
I
on
was
the
going to
end.
make a motion, if that's okay?
Can we have
Unless
a
you want to
battle
make a
for
motion,
emotions?
Bill?
For it.
All right.
Okay,
Mary
so
Alice Wu.
I actually feel more comfortable at the moment of passing the if I can do this with the, I don't know if it's an amendment or not, but setting aside the 12,500 so that we come within budget, and talk about the 10,000 and where that would come from and so forth. So I'm ready to move that the consolidated social services be moved forward with approval of 250,000, which meets budget, which would be a reduction of the proposal for set aside of 22,500. I'm looking at the council amendments from June 25th, and so I would move approval of those amounts.
So does that receive support? Yes, you can. All right, so we have a second by Dean. Mary Alice made the motion. Dean Hazen seconds.
So just for clarification, so that includes everything that's under the column council amendments June 25th, including the 10% on Meals and Wheels and stuff? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So that's rather comprehensive, covering our discussion,
I hope so.
some of it. All right. Well, we can vote on it. Are
So
there,
clarification of the proposal.
yes?
The proposal is essentially council amendments June 25, so it's the recommendation plus the amendments with one revision, which is instead of the set aside of 22.5, it would be a set aside of 12,500. Just want to clarify.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank
Yep.
you.
Well,
Yes, Eric then.
I think the motion was stated in a way that may not be mathematically consistent. If you want to stay within 250,000, then you can only set aside 10,000, not 12,500, or, oh, because you've got 2,500 that you take, that you've taken away. Okay, got it, okay.
I'm glad we have accountants here.
I withdraw my quibble,
Okay, it's always good to have some accountants here on the city council who can,
as long as they get the numbers right.
that's right. All right, so is there a discussion? Are we in favor of this? Shall I say, all those in favor indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, I guess we're going to go ahead with that.
Thank you.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't come back to us.
We will.
For
Yeah.
more.
Oh,
And I know you will.
Don't you worry. I might ask for more, so be careful.
Right. So returning now to Dean Hazen, Committee of the Whole reports. Number B.
Okay, mayoral appointments to the boards and commissions. Yes, action here is on behalf of the committee of the whole, I so moved to appoint the following people to the Market at the Square Advisory Board. Term ends June 30th, 2021. People would be Diane Kane, excuse me if this is not the correct pronunciation, Hyde O'Brien, and Sarah Semzine. I can't read lips, but
Turn on your microphone.
And
I second the motion.
seconded by Eric Jacobson. Discussion? Okay, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. We go now to reports of special committees. Are there indeed reports from our special committees? Is the UFO committee going to report tonight? No. Okay.
Not that special.
Not that special. Reports of officers. Come forward and spill the beans. Oh, I know, this is going to be economic development.
Yes, Libby Horowitz, Economic Development Coordinator with the June Business and Development Report. Starting off, Urbana's permits tripled from last year during a period where regionally permits were decreasing, and that's from data published from the News Gazette over the past 3 years. That was largely due to the development on spec in Stone Creek. 2 new restaurants have opened in 5 Points, that's La Mixteca and LL Sushi. Soccer Planet has new ownership, and they have indicated that they do plan to follow through on the previous planned expansion of the facility. We are wrapping up the Think Urbana marketing for the last fiscal year, so we are now going into evaluation to see what worked well for that and what to continue, and we're going to come up with a new plan for that. We have one more Realtor tour coming up. We have a few more coming up, but the next one is this Thursday at 3 o'clock. We'll be starting at 25 o'clock. We have been seeing increased attendance for those as well. For events, there's plenty of neighborhood nights to go to in the upcoming weeks. We recommend going out to those for a great time to listen to new music and explore the parks. I do want to put a correction on page 3. The Urbana Fine Arts Studio is a dance studio, not a restaurant, and that's in Suites H and I. Lastly, the amount of square footage added continued to rise. Once again, that's due largely to those increase in housing in Stone Creek. Any questions?
Yeah, first let's start with Bill, and we'll go down the line.
Yeah, it's really encouraging to see the spec building in Stone Creek. I know, from my perspective, people have come to work at the U of I in our department and looked for new construction, but not be able to find anything in Urbana, even though they wanted to live in Urbana. So it'll be nice. Hopefully, will those be done by this fall? And do you know?
I believe so.
And how many houses are they building? Do you know?
I can get those numbers to
Okay.
you. I think it's around 30 altogether, I believe. There's some that they're doing for rental as well. And they also indicated that they might be doing some solar as well moving forward.
Okay,
They've
cool.
had interest in that.
Thanks.
Impressive. Yes, Mary Alice.
I'm curious, so there was an agreement with the golf course at Stone Creek, and I think that expired recently, or is getting ready to expire, is that correct?
I don't know anything about that, actually.
I've just heard comments from people who are concerned about...
Yes, so they did address that in our Realtor tour, so they do plan on, through the continuation of 2018, running it, and they're just sort of discussing what to do with it in the future. They don't have any concrete plans as of now.
So there's nothing beyond 2018?
I don't want to speak for the company, but they don't know right now. They are exploring options right now, and they did indicate that they're continually talking to residents as well about that. So that would be the Atkins to talk to about that.
Okay, so for those of you who might not be aware, the golf course that's currently at the Stone Creek, there was a commitment by Atkins to run it, was it 20 years? I think it was roughly 20 years, and that is expiring. So the question is that golf course going to continue beyond 2018? Some of the reasons that people move there, of course, is to be close to a golf course, so that is of concern of residents.
And they're discussing that, and they are including their residents in those talks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that report. It's heartening, I would say, for Urbana. All right, any other reports from special committees or officers? Bill Gray, Public Works.
Yes, last week, actually 2 weeks ago, we received good news. There is a statewide planning grant that Regional Plan Commission put in an application for, along with the Urbana Park District and the city, for the Urbana Kickapoo Rail Trail Extension Planning Study. We were granted $100,000 in federal dollars for this program with a local match of $25,000. So there will be an intergovernmental agreement coming about here in the weeks ahead, but this is good news. And the study area limits are at the west end, Lincoln Avenue, by the Carl Hospital Complex area, and it would go all the way to Main Street where the Kickapoo Rail Trail currently ends. So this is good news for looking at a rail trail extension planning study. And the contract amount is a total of $125,000.
That really is good news. Thank you so much for having made that application. All right, any other reports of officers? All right, now let's go to some new business. First is ordinance number 2018-07-048, an ordinance approving major variances. This is at 603 East Oregon Street and refers to Zoning Board of Appeals case 2018-MAG-08 and case 2018-MAG-09. And Kevin Garcia.
Good evening. So this is a request by Carol Osgood, the property owner, for two variances that would allow her to add an apartment to her existing garage at 603 East Oregon Street. The garage is currently, let me get to a picture of it. So the garage is currently located within, you can actually see it on this location map. It's currently located within both the side and rear yard setbacks, which is allowed for accessory structures like garages. However, putting an apartment into the building would reclassify the building as a second principal structure on the lot, and principal structures are not allowed in required yards. So hence the two variances that Ms. Osgood is requesting. The Zoning Board of Appeals unanimously voted to grant a conditional use permit to allow for a second principal structure on the lot. They also voted unanimously to recommend approval of the two variances to City Council. If approved, the footprint of the garage would remain the same. The exterior will look the same. In your memo, you can see in Exhibit D. Here's a picture of the house. Here's the garage. So it'll look the same. It's not changing the footprint at all. It's just being reclassified as a principal building. You can also see there's plenty of parking on the site, and it would be able to accommodate the additional parking required by the apartment, and all other zoning requirements would be met if approved. The Zoning Board of Appeals found that the proposal meets the variance criteria that is used to evaluate variance requests, and the recommendation from the Zoning Board is to approve the requests with a condition that the variances only pertain to the existing garage. That's just sort of to make sure that, say, the garage were ever demolished, then a new garage would have to, or a new building there would have to meet the yard requirements. Staff concurs with the Zoning Board's recommendation, and I can take any questions if you have them. I know that the applicant is here as well, and I think filled out a sheet, so
Yes.
she might be
We'll have her
speaking
come
here
up in a
too.
minute.
Okay.
So let's first have questions for Kevin. And Kevin, I want to ask you, if the garage caught fire and burned, would that require then that if it was rebuilt, it would have to meet the setbacks?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Questions for Kevin? Bill Brown.
Was there any input from any neighbors? I assumed they all had to get notice about.
Correct, and there was no neighbor input.
Okay. Is the house immediately to the south? Is that owned by the person that lives there? Is it a rental or? That seems like that would be the one mostly affected. I guess it'd be like 702 South Grove, something like that.
Yeah,
704.
we didn't hear anything from that property owner.
Okay. And with that other garage to the east,
Right there.
yeah, right there next to
Mhm.
it, just thinking of fire, is there any special fire code that they have to put in extra drywall or anything on that side? No windows? I know we have certain things when commercial buildings are close to each other, I don't know about.
Right, that's a good question. It's not one that I am equipped to answer, but the property owner will be required to get all the necessary building permits, and so that's one that would be covered.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Are there okay, Eric?
Oh, it looks like a nice repurposing. Brings back memories. I lived in a remodeled cow shed in New Hampshire many years ago. So I think this is great.
Did you say shed?
Yeah, cow shed, yes.
Just clarify.
I know that when I lived in Arizona, the owner of the house that faced the street, which is what I was renting, was very proud of the building that he built in the backyard as a second apartment. And it was the most ramshackle of buildings one might imagine. And apparently was just considered, the going thing back, in the 70s in Arizona. No big deal. So I appreciate the Zoning Board of Appeals coming forward and scrutinizing this and making it a structure that will not be become an eyesore to the community and was thoughtfully put together. So maybe now it's time to invite Carol Osgood, who's the owner of the property, to come forward. She wanted to speak, and I think this. Okay. She's just here hoping that something good happens for herself.
Yes,
All right.
you're ahead so far, I think.
All right. Other questions for us? Okay. Mary Alice.
I was just going to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2018-07048, an ordinance approving a major variance at 603 East Oregon Street, ZBA case number 2018 MAG-08, and ZBA case number 2018 MAJ-09.
And I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Dean Hazen. The motion made by Mary Alice Wu. Is there discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? There are
Need a
none
roll
opposed.
call on that.
Pardon me?
We need a roll call.
Okay, you know what? Then we'll do a roll call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Ammons?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hasten?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Roberts?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for keeping us straight and narrow. All right, that passes. Congratulations. Okay.
Looks nice, yeah.
Very good. All right, now we're coming to Resolution 2018-07027R, a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement with the Urbana Lodge Number 70 of the Fraternal Order of Police and the Illinois Order of Police Labor Council, term of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020. Where do we stand with this at this time? Trent?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. So I'm here to present to you the collective bargaining agreement between the city and Lodge 70 of the Fraternal Order of Police. Today, I'd just like to acknowledge that we're joined in the audience by Sergeant James Corey Coker, who is currently the president of the FOP. The memorandum accompanying this item summarizes the major contract provisions and changes associated with the agreement. Our collective bargaining team recommends passage or approval of the resolution, which would authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Yeah, where do we stand, and what would the council like to ask? Yes, Jared.
I don't have any questions for Todd, but I will make a motion that we approve resolution number 2018-07-027R, resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement with the Urbana Lodge Number 70 of the Fraternal Order of Police and the Illinois Order of Police Labor Council for a term of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020 for approval.
I'll second that.
Dean Hazen makes the second. All right, is there a discussion about this at all? All right. Then I guess we can do this as a, those in favor indicate by saying aye? Or is it going to be roll call? It's a roll call, all right. Let's do a roll call.
Roll call, capital RC.
All right.
Mr.
Please.
Ammons?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Hasten?
Yes.
Jacobson?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wu?
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
you.
Congratulations. Next item on the agenda, Resolution 2018-07-028R, a resolution regarding the release of closed session minutes for the period ending June 30th, 2018. Our city clerk is going to advise us. Or not. So Yeah, did we ever, did we actually, yeah, all right, we have a list. Not the whole list is being released, though, is it? All right, let's look at this. Yeah, all right, so it's really just when one individual set of minutes.
Well, we have a list of all the ones we decided. Yeah, we have one that we'll release, and then a list of all the others that we will not release.
Right, which is a long list.
Which is a long list, and
Okay.
it is public record. It was posted.
But we're going to
it's posted.
chip away at it by one. Mary Alice Wu.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 2018-0702R, 028R, resolution regarding the release of closed session minutes for the period ending June 30th, 2018.
A second.
Bill Brown makes the second. Discussion? Seeing none? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes, those minutes are released. All right, we have a set of mayoral appointments to boards and commissions. There's a correction on the first one, which I'll explain as I read it. First, Community Development Commission, term ending June 30th, 2021. Ann Hines Silvis is nominated to be the chair of that committee, which wasn't indicated here on our agenda, but it was on the ordinance itself. And the UC2B Board of Directors, voting member, term ending June 30th, 2021, Jason Burr. Is there a motion of approval for these names?
I move approval.
Eric Jacobson says so.
A second.
Bill Brown says so. Any discussion? All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I guess we have those people approved for their commission work. That being the last item on the agenda for this rescheduled city council meeting, I call adjournment.